Just want to take a moment and do a quick sermon recap from our past Sunday's message, which was called Life-Giving Hospitality. Whenever I hear the word hospitality, I think of this scene from The Hobbit where Bilbo Baggins is traveling with his companions and they come to a place of rest at the house of Elrond. And here's what it says about this house. His house was perfect, whether you liked food or sleep or work or storytelling or singing or just sitting and thinking best, or a pleasant mixture of them all. All of them, the ponies as well, grew refreshed and strong in a few days there. Their clothes were mended as well as their bruises, their tempers, and their hopes. And I read this because this is a picture of what the church should look like. And this is a picture of what our homes should look like, little outposts of the church. Now, hospitality is an interesting word, right? When you hear that word, you may think of tea parties or entertaining extravagance, perhaps well-manicured homes worthy of Pinterest. And in fairness, hospitality could include all of those things. But as we look at Romans 12 and other places in Scripture, we're going to see that hospitality is less about a place and more about a posture, right? Less about a place and more about a posture. One of the key Greek words for hospitality is the word that we use for the love of family, the love of kin, and then it combines it with another word which means stranger. So literally the love of stranger. That's what hospitality is. And of course, this sort of hospitality could only exist because of the gospel. In Ephesians 2, Paul is talking about the gospel, and he says, "You are no longer strangers and aliens, but you're fellow citizens in the kingdom of the household of faith." No longer strangers, but family. That's what the gospel message is about. And it's easy for us to forget how scandalous this message is, right? The gospel message is like a courtroom scene where we go into the court thinking we're innocent, right? But as the trial goes on, we realize, oh no, we're guilty. We're deserving of punishment. And then it comes time for the verdict to be read. And the judge, here's what happens. The judge doesn't say, "Not guilty, now go on your way." The judge says, "Not guilty, now come with me. Come to my home, welcome. You're now a part of my family." That's the heart of the gospel message. And so life-giving hospitality seeks to relay God's welcome for us toward others. We're relaying God's welcome for us toward others. We pay it forward. We pass it on like an inheritance. Now, Jesus modeled this sort of life for us, right? Jesus is the most hospitable person who ever lived. And he had no tea parties, no extravagant home, and no interior designer. But what he had was this. He had time, and he had presence, and he welcomed people. I love how one commentator describes Jesus' ministry in the book of Luke. He says if you look at Luke, Jesus is almost always going to a meal, at a meal, or leaving a meal. Because all are welcome at the table of Jesus. This leads us to our text, Romans 12:13. Contribute to the needs of the saints and seek to show hospitality. You see, hospitality is intentional. It's a duty, but it's also joyful, right? This makes me think of porters. Now, when you hear the word porter, you may think of a bellhop at a hotel who welcomes you and takes your bags, and that is a porter. But porters have a long history in monasteries. And I want you to imagine for a moment that you're traveling anywhere from the 6th century to the 17th century. And you could be traveling as far south as northern Africa, as far east as the Middle East, as far north as Ireland, and as far west as Spain. Pretty much all of Europe and then some. And you're traveling, and if you were traveling during this time, your eyes would be fixed on the horizon looking for something. Do you know what you'd be looking for? You'd be looking for a monastery. Because a monastery was known to take you in, to welcome you, to give you food, to give you respite. So your eyes would be looking for a monastery. And when you found that monastery, there would be a porter there to greet you, either right outside of the monastery or right at the gates of the monastery. And his job, the porter's job, was to represent the church to the world. That was his job. And so he would welcome you in, and he would run, and he would go get the monks, and he would even get the abbot, and they would all come out. They would welcome you in. They would kiss your feet, and they would say, "You are Christ to us, Jesus in the flesh to us." The lost world is on a journey, and they're looking to the horizon, and they don't even know what they're looking for. There are people who are hurting and who are in need, and we have a place of rest to offer because we carry with us the gospel. We're all porters, are we not? This is a small picture of what it means to practice life-giving hospitality.